What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. We are here. We're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 31. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Pretty good, Josh. I say that every week. And I have a question for you as a connoisseur of adult collectibles.
I'm the connoisseur of adult. Wait, when you say adult collectibles, my mind went to like a dildo collection.
No, like Legos and trains and
Oh,
things
okay.
that only adults have and not
Okay.
children.
So we're not currently talking about my dildo collection. Got it. Okay.
No.
Carry on.
So most of the adult Legos that I buy, they're not like phallic in shape, but they're like the fancy buildings or like the Death Star and nonsense like that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of them have, when you do the big builds, they have hidden compartments in them. They have like wacky little nods to things or fun little jokes or things along that nature.
Oh, they do?
You never noticed that?
I've never done a big Lego build, like a big modern Lego build, really.
Okay. Yeah, so almost all of them have them. Like I got
That's
the
cool.
I got the Dungeons and Dragons one currently being built on my desk.
Nice.
And there's a part where you put the ground down, but underneath the ground is a couple XP coins plus like a sword. There's a secret cave in the wall that has a little handle you pull out to like find a door that goes underground for the adventurers and things. So that's like in this one, and
that's
like
awesome.
other sets do different things along this line. At this point, like almost every set now has little hidden compartments under like the main part of the build where like from you building it you would know it, but other people wouldn't just see it. So tied to that, if you ever wanted to show the funny thing, or if an outsider wanted to find the funny thing, I feel like you'd actually have to play with the adult Legos, and I feel like they're appealing to two different clienteles at that point. Like you're not gonna buy the kid like a $500 Lego set and be like, hey, destroy Cinderella's castle and find the rose inside.
Yeah,
right?
no, I mean, not really. So my kid's pretty into Lego right now. That's a pretty recent thing that has begun. So she's obviously not getting the like fancy adult sets. She's getting the more kid oriented ones. So like for Easter, her grandma got her actually a few of them, but one of them was like you can make an Easter bunny, and one of them was like you can make some puppies, like things like that. So they're like adult sized Legos. It's not we're not talking like Duplo or anything.
Yeah.
But like the sets are like a little bit more geared towards kids. They're not the like adult sets that you find. So those are fun, but like yeah, like I was thinking about this the other day. Like Lego is weird because it sort of is like you build a thing that is intended for play, but but not really. Like you building it is the play, but then they often make them in such a way that you can play with the thing. But I feel like people don't really do that. Like the bunny that she's making, like has like articulated parts on it and stuff. Like you can play with it like an action figure. But like that's not really what anyone does with Lego. You build it, you either put it on a shelf or you then take it back apart eventually.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I don't understand in general. That reminds me, because even like my one buddy's kids built like the Hulkbuster armor when all the Marvel stuff was big, and his arms move, he's play withable, and I feel like at some point they were playing with it. I mean, they're like, I think they're like 5 and 7, 6 and 4, somewhere in there. So like they weren't like aggressively playing with it, but they were playing with it and it fell apart. And I feel like that's the bad sign of like if it was an action figure, you would never want it to fall apart. But I feel like that's conducive to Legos because they're just little bricks that stick together. And if you make them punch Spider-Man, like things are gonna fall apart. So it's a real weird.
It is weird.
Their Venn diagram doesn't have a lot of overlap between play and build.
It does not. Now I will say, like, well, I guess two things. As a kid, when I was building Lego, this was like before like structured Lego sets were as big of a thing then. So like I had a bunch of Lego as a kid, but it was just I had bricks and I would make like houses or structures or whatever. And that did involve a lot of play because I would like make a house for my GI Joe or whatever, or I'd build a wall and my RC cars would like break through it and stuff like that. So like yeah, I feel like it's just these sets that like lend themselves to display. I will say though, my kid has gotten some other, like she's gotten some Spider-Man sets that are like they're from the Spidey and His Amazing Friends TV show, so like the kids TV show for Spidey, and those are actually, like, very playable because there's not a lot of building for them, or at least the ones she has. Like, you put together a pretty rudimentary little structure, but then it's, like, got a mine cart, and you can put a little character in the mine cart and push it along the track, and, like, it's got a little boat that, like, it doesn't break apart very easy because it's only a couple pieces anyway. So like you can really play with the boat pretty well and stuff. So like those are actually pretty decently done. It's mostly just here are a few things that you can play minifigures on, which works out pretty well. But
Well, even like now talking this out, when the good brainstorming happens, like they have like the Mario sets now, which are specifically made to be played with. Like you're basically like playing a game of Super Mario on these
yeah,
little
they're
courses you
like
build.
they're like levels, right? Like they look like a level of Mario. Is that how
Yeah,
they work? Yeah.
yeah, basically, and like he is computerized, or at least talks and recognizes what he steps on and things like that.
Whoa,
So I
really?
guess maybe they're better at making, like, I'm sure the adult stuff's really supposed to be a model, and
Yeah.
like the super kid stuff is probably just for kids. But I'm at that weird middle age, almost 41, where I don't know if it's a toy or a model.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like I am also firmly in the adult camp. I think I'm 36 now. I think that's correct. I'll have to check with my wife later and see if that's actually how old I am. I'm always off by a year or two, but I believe 36 is the correct answer. And I still appreciate a good toy. Like I want to, like I want something that I can actually play with when I put it together. It's always fun. I recently, so I haven't done one of the big giant sets that you're talking about, but I for a little bit was interested in Lego cars, which were pretty fun to build.
Like the actual, like the big ones, like the full,
I don't have any
like
huge
the one
ones,
eighth scale, 1/16 scale ones, kind of
more
thing.
1/16th, like a little bit smaller ones. Um, and I've even done a custom one of those where like I found plans online that just some random person made, and I ordered all the bricks for it and put it together. So it's not a real set, but I did that. But those were pretty fun. And then I recently, just like last week, I like, I guess the side note to this is I've been getting into film photography. I don't know if I've mentioned that on the podcast, but that's my most recent hobby that I have way too many hobbies of. Um, but because I've been thinking about cameras and caring about cameras recently, I picked up the Lego set that is like an old school retro film camera.
Yeah, people actually kind of like that one.
Yeah, that one's
I
really
saw
cool.
good reviews of the thing.
So that's a fun one to play with because you get it together and it's very sturdy. Like you couldn't really rip parts off of it unless you were trying. And then it actually has like film you put in the back of it and it closes, and then it has like a thing you can twist, and it's got like to like roll the film up, and it's got like a good feeling like where the button would be and stuff. Like actually has things that it can do, and then it's pretty sturdy too if a kid played with it. So that's a pretty neat sort of like in between. It's on my shelf and it looks nice, but you could also play with it.
I have a typewriter that works the same way,
Oh, that's cool.
of Lego Descent.
A typewriter of Lego Descent. You could also
And
just have a typewriter. Those are nice to play with sometimes.
like the old school slamming the keys. When I was, this will be the last little mini story here. When I was growing up, I had to type an assignment for something in school,
Yeah.
and we didn't have a computer yet. And I distinctly remember having to use my mom's typewriter to type up the document to take into school to make photocopies to give people. It was music class. You need to type up the lyrics of whatever song you wanted to bring to class to share with everybody.
Uh-huh.
I remember typing it up, and of course, there's no spell check. And I definitely misspelled words
Yeah, for
because
sure.
the word, yeah. And then it was all like weirdly aligned because eventually you run out of space. So you have to like do weird page breaks. And I think there's even the old school whiteout on it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. But whiteout was a big deal. Yeah. I think that you have just separated yourself from the majority of our listeners in the idea that like there was a time in your life pre your family owning a computer. Like that will be such a foreign concept.
I think I firmly do that all the time.
Yeah. I think
Like in
that's fair.
general, I'm right in the sweet spot of catching almost every current technology we use now as it was new.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because like
you're kinda right. You're a little bit ahead of me on the wave there, but yeah, we definitely came up on, like, home computers were, like, just really becoming a widespread thing, and then, the
hell,
rise of the
even the internet,
smartphone,
even
the
the internet.
internet. Yeah. I remember the drama that was internet at our house because we had a computer when I was pretty young. Like I remember a time before having a computer at home, but I was very young once we finally got one. So majority of my life we had a computer, but we had like crappy AOL dial up for like most of the chunk of the time that I lived at home. We really, I think, only got, yeah, we really only got high speed internet. I think like as I was going to college, really. Um, so like the majority of my time was like, we didn't even have a dedicated phone line or anything like that. So it was like go unplug the house phone, then stretch the long phone cable out to the computer, plug it in. You could get on the internet, but you can't be on the internet for like more than like 20 minutes because what if somebody calls? we can't have the phone line tied up for that long. So you got to make sure you download your one MP3 and then you disconnect so that someone can call our landline.
So our not our thing. My thing was basically along the same lines, but we had call waiting, which in theory was supposed to kick you off. Like if the other line rang through,
Oh yeah.
it would it was supposed to disconnect you. But in the beginning of I'm gonna call them the cool hacker days. I would I learned the code to disable call waiting. That you could dial first before you made a phone call to
Nice.
block the call waiting from coming through. So I would do that all the time and never told my mom. And then I also, because I would go online late at night and like since it's on the phone and kick you off all the time, the shitty dial up, uh, she would know I was up too late screwing around if she heard the modem dial. Because if you
Yep.
never heard a modem dialing noise, it's loud and it screams, and depending on the modem, some are way worse than the others.
Ding dong, dong, dong. Yeah.
So then eventually I figured out there was codes to make the modem not make dialing sounds. And at that point I
Oh.
was unstoppable.
Yeah, I never knew that. I never had a modem long enough to have to figure that out. Cuz my most of my uh internet time, I guess, was like on the family computer. So once I got a laptop it didn't really matter, but like yeah, the family computer I was never having to figure out how to silence a modem for the part.
See, I'm telling everybody, I've been here for all of it. I'm a grizzled veteran in all the
Grizzled
internet, all
old
the
vet.
internet electronic things. But
Well,
Josh, speaking of electronic things,
yeah.
people can send emails over electronics. I guess they
Electronic
can. I
mail,
guess they can
if you
send
will.
mails over electronics. They can't send
That's
emails over electronics. That
that's true.
ruins the whole joke.
It does. Yeah. The mail is electronic. And let's jump into that now. If you would like to send us an electronic mail, a missive, if you will, you can send those over to cast at commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast at commonwritersucks.com. The link is down in the description for the email address. We got an email this week coming in from Shade. Shade has the subject line here is a dramatic gotcha before the storm. So
Uh oh,
definitely Shade is foreboding. Is that the right word? There's
that's a good one.
yeah, we're picking some things up here. Shade has a lot of interesting things about the from the producers blog this week. I think we'll skip a lot of that for now since we're going to go through the episode. But one thing that I wanted to point out that Shade linked here is that there's going to be a full version of the high school production of Romeo and Juliet released on the TTFC.
That sounds horrible.
And the script of the play is going to be available as an ebook. That feels um that feels like I guess in perfect Gotchard fashion, that feels like the snake eating its own tail of like what are we doing here? Like who it was a funny thing for a few seconds in the show, but like who wants to sit through an entire play that's funneled through the lens of a kids TV show? That's a weird one. But I mean, I'm happy if anyone's happy about it, I guess. Not to yuck anybody's yum. Uh, and then Shade ends his email here with a question for us, Toby. Shade says, to end things, I'd like to talk about the whole high school plays and Romeo and Juliet and such. Because where I'm from, we don't really have drama clubs, high school plays, or even learn about Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, high school's pretty boring here. So, to you guys, this might be some classic high school activity that's incredibly normal, but to me, this shit's something out of a movie. LOL. I was getting some mad high school musical flashbacks with these two episodes, just minus the musical part. So, what are some of the two of yours high school play experience, and how does it compare high school plays in film and other media? So Toby, did your school have like plays and a theater class and stuff?
We always did. We probably covered any of the main. All the Shakespeare stuff was always big. Pirates of Penzance, I remember being big, or at least having seen it.
Okay,
Mary
yeah.
Poppins, Peter Pan, a bunch of the other things. And overall, again, we already talked about how old I am. I don't remember any of it ever seeming as cool or the kids being as popular as media will portray these situations. But other than that, it's all accurate.
You weren't involved in any of it though, right?
No, like because I was too busy being cool in band. So
Okay, yeah,
basically, at some point, I think it was like middle school. You basically like you spin yourself one way or the other if you're gonna do one of those two things,
yeah.
and then the class times would just overlap, and you could never couldn't do both.
Yeah, I think that's the weird experience. Like, the exact same thing is true for me, and I think that's the weird experience for a lot of American high schools. So yeah, if you're not from here, you might not know how all that works. But like, there isn't really a drama club like you see in Japan. Like those things are classes, and like Toby said, like you sort of pick a track pretty early on. You decide. At least in my school, it was like, are you gonna do theater? Are you going to do band or are you going to do choir? Like those were sort of like you decide who you align with,
Or
or
sports.
like
You're leaving
or
out
sports.
sports.
Exactly. Sports is the other one. There's that whole the actual popular kids are often making a different decision about what they're doing. But the nerds over here are figuring out what type of nerd they're going to be for the rest of
Yeah.
their life. And I was also a band nerd, so I was not involved in the theater stuff. We did have some overlap with some of the theater people because um, part of our marching band, we had like color guard, which are like the people who like spin the flags and spin the rifles and stuff like that. And some of them were also in theater stuff too. So like I knew some of the theater people and stuff, but like I was trying to think of like what productions we put on. I don't think we did like just a full on Romeo and Juliet, but like I think we did a Mary Poppins one year,
See,
that
I
sort of
feel like
stuff.
it's the same everywhere. I
Yeah,
really feel like it's just the same rented books that
it
go
probably is.
to all the
Yeah.
places, or the rented scripts, or how the hell you do it.
Because my memory of them is that they were pretty classic. It wasn't like we were doing like anything like contemporary. It was mostly like older plays that I had heard of, even in my limited knowledge of plays. But they were like very popular. Like I went to several of the plays that my high school put on while I was in high school, and like they would like sell out that auditorium. Like a bunch of people would come. It was like kind of a big deal, and the productions were actually, at least at my school, like way more than you would expect them to be, like way more elaborate than you would expect them to be. So it was actually like it was pretty impressive for like a high school setup. But uh, I would say that it didn't seem that out of the ordinary from what I saw in this episode actually. Like so some of the like sets and kind of what we saw at the very end of this with Romeo and Juliet.
So this actually just reminded me, where my buddy's kids go to school. They put on a production of SpongeBob the musical. Is now a thing that's out there.
Okay. Yep.
It's actually, so it sounds silly because there's musicals and all sorts of things along this line now for basically any sort of media. Like we made fun of in our Discord, which we'll talk about later. There was a Shrek one that toured, and like Cats is one. Like there's all sorts of those things. But the SpongeBob one has actual real bands writing the songs for the musical. Like there's a song written by Panic at the Disco. There's a song written by Aerosmith. There's a song
Okay.
written by the Flaming Lips, Lady A, who's like a country-ish group, Cindy Lauper. Like it's actually like hardcore, top of the line music written stuff, and that was never the case when again when Josh and I grew up.
No, no, not at all. So I just pulled up the website for my high school's theater department, and for the 2023 to 2024 schedule, so last November they ran the SpongeBob musical.
So it must be the big thing right now.
Must be. The next one coming up from my school is Oklahoma, which is that's very much in the realm of what I remember happening when I was there too, of like stuff like Oklahoma.
Yeah, my old high school is doing Beauty and the Beast this year, apparently.
Ooh, we also did a beauty that I remember that. I think. Hang on. I was gonna maybe say something out of turn. I think think I maybe was like trying to date one of the theater kids at some point, or I'm trying to remember now. I got romantically dragged to a performance of Beauty and the Beast at some point, but I can't remember if that was because it was the person that I liked at the time just wanted to go or was involved. I don't remember. But Toby, I can tell you, was not worth it. That relationship did not pan out.
What a mistake.
Indeed, it was. So Shane, thanks very much for the email. We might touch base on some of the other producer blog things kind of as we get to them here. But yeah, thanks for the email. And once again, cast@commonwritersucks.com is the email address. Toby also mentioned the Discord. You can get in the Discord by joining our Patreon. That's patreon.com/the comment writers. Again, also a link down in the description. Our Patreon is awesome, Toby. Listen, I might be a little biased, but I'll go ahead and say it's a great Patreon. For just $3 a month, you get all the bonus content that Toby and I put out, which normally is right now a weekly episode of Boon Boomger, the Sentai that we are currently watching, and Kamen Rider X-Aid, which is a Kamen Rider show we're watching that we are close to finishing up. So we'll be picking a new Kamen Rider watch once that is done. So you get that stuff every single week to watch along with us, kind of like Mystery Science Theater style, except for tokusatsu. And this week is actually kind of a special one. After we record this, Toby and I are going to sit down and watch the Kamen Rider Geats V Cinext movie thing, which is Giamato Awakening. So I'm excited to check that out and to dive back into the world of Geats. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to watch that with these two chuckleheads making jokes over it while you do, go check out the Discord. It is, the Patreon. It's super, super fun. And you also get access to the Discord where we're chatting about all kinds of crazy nonsense all week long. So once again, patreon.com/the comment writers to check that out. Toby, I was thinking about let's talk some business here live on the air.
Uh-oh.
I was thinking about doing away. We have two tiers for our Patreon. We have a tier for $1 a month that gets you Discord access, and then a tier for $3, which we just described, that gets you all the bonus content and Discord access. We have a fair number of chuckleheads currently in the bonus content tier. We don't have anybody in the tip jar, the Discord access only tier. I was thinking of just doing away with that tier. No one's really utilizing it. Most people are jumping to the bonus content. Maybe we clear that out and we go a different route.
I learned from Gotchard that if you're unhappy with the way things are currently going, you just say it's a brand new year, a brand new season. Wow, it's senior year of high school. Use whatever delineation you want to,
Well,
and you just burn it down, build it right back up.
Yep, much like Seth Rollins, we're gonna burn it down. We do have, so Patreon started the you can join, you can follow a Patreon for free. Like that's just sort of like turned on by default now. So people have done that for us. So we have some free only members, and right now they're not getting anything from that. But maybe we'll do away with the $1 tier, but then post things once in a while to the free tier just so people get a little taste. Toby, just give them a little taste,
This is your business. You run it however you want to.
The first taste is free.
I'm just here for the yuck yucks.
Toby, this is our business, but not officially because we haven't. We didn't form an LLC.
We're not an
LLC.
Yeah.
Toby and Josh. It's not an LLC. It's a YYC, a yuck chuckle.
Yeah. So basically, though, since it's Josh's business, if there's any issues, you just sue him directly, and that's really why I'm.
Oh God.
That's why I'm keeping my hands clean of all this.
you just real plausible deniability over here. Just you're gonna
I don't know,
out.
Josh.
Yeah, what is this? I don't know. It's just I join this Discord call once a week, and things happen.
He's good with AI.
He's good with AI. So what really we're gonna find out is Toby's never been real this whole time. He's just been an AI voice. I have 2 Discord accounts.
That's the final ending.
Toby, let's jump in and let's discuss Kamen Rider Gotchard episode 31.
Let's.
This episode is a continuation of the previous episode where we introduced a sultry little love interest for Hodoro named Seina, and Kudo became jealous. So jealous that maybe she wanted Seina dead.
And she froze her to death.
At least that's what Atropos would want her to believe. We pick up kind of in the middle of that action. Seina is frozen. Atropos is saying, that girl's dead, and she's dead because of you.
The classic.
That line made me laugh really hard. Like, that girl's dead. I had to rewind that and watch that a couple times. Turns out Toby Seina is not actually dead. Um, Hodoro has some like pumping up speech for Kudo, telling her she can do it. She's got to get up and fight. Minato shows up, says the same thing, has her kind of snap out of it, and says that turns out Seina's not actually dead. She can still make it, but Kudo needs to fight like using the rules that she set for herself, I believe is how he has worded it, which is a really weird thing to tell somebody.
There was lots of hand waving of all the issues in the first couple minutes.
Yeah. Kudo gets up and she does fight. She thinks back about all of her memories with her friends and her
Another
and
another nice flashback for no reason. We
yeah.
recapped all the charming moments together. Uh, the most ridiculous part to me of at least this little intro here was Kudo was like, "I suck. I'm the worst," and Hodo's just like, "No, you really don't." And she goes, "You're right. I don't. I can do this." And like it was an instant like 5 second fix of like her ultimate, like the ending of the last episode of this one was like her mental demise of like, I'm a monster, all this bad stuff happens because of me. And Hodo just like waves at her and says like, no, no, it's okay. And she goes, yeah, it's okay. And then she's good to go.
Dude, Hodoro's a charming dude. What are you gonna do? You
He
know,
is.
he tells you something about yourself, you're gonna believe it. This kind of reminded me of there was an episode of Geats where I can't remember exactly the details, but it was like maybe it was like Geats was about to land this like crazy killing blow directly on Buffa. Like it was like he's coming in for the rider kick, and the episode ends. The next episode picks up, and he just misses. Like the key just misses the kick, and then we move on. That's what this felt like. I'm just like this crazy, like oh my god, Kudo can't handle it. Like she's collapsed. She's not gonna be able to fight back. This episode picks up, and then she just stands up and fights back.
Like to use like probably our longest running joke in all of these episodes and like both series now. If something is bad in one episode, 99% chance that it's going to be a two-part bad, and
Yeah,
like it's gonna fix instantly the week after. Like
yeah,
almost every time, almost every minor to major issue that has been in these episodes, it's always like if the odd number episode ends badly, even number episode opens with no, never mind, it wasn't that bad, and we just move forward.
yep. Yeah, they've really leaned into the two parters this season, uh, in a way that is like, and maybe that's kind of what they were doing, like in Geats, but like it feels much more formulaic here. It feels much more like intentionally written as two parters instead of just like, well, what's the next thing in the story that happens? And I guess pros and cons to that, but it makes each individual two episode pair stand out more for me in Gotchard, but it also makes them feel like we just sort of reset every two episodes, kind of like everything gets fixed, everything gets resolved. Like okay, we're back to a beginning point, and then we just start fresh again
It's
instead
really
of
the equivalent
the
of
story continuing.
like in all the Power Ranger Sentai stuff. It's like the equivalent of the monster of the day. It's just 2 days.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. Although I did like taken on its own. This episode has an interesting structure because we defeat this first monster here. So Kudo uses her sun powers to unfreeze Hodoro and unfreeze Seina. Minato catches Seina, and then Hodoro and Kudo team up against the Malgam, and they dispatch it pretty quickly here. So like right at the beginning of this episode, we're killing a Malgam and we're capturing a card, the Blizzard Mammoth card. So that's like a little bit different, at least like the structure of this episode is interesting because you have a whole nother Malgam coming, even though we've already beaten one. But at this point, Kudo apologizes to Hodoro. We seem like we're doing okay. And then we cut over to um to well, I guess before we do that, Minato does have a line where he talks about turning weakness into strength, and he says that the Abyssal Sisters' anger in losing Garion is also a strength. So like he has a little foreboding thought about them. Then we cut over to a cute little food truck, Toby. Just an adorable little setup here where the I'll say Spanner's mom, just so you know who I'm talking about, Kyoka, is
That's what I
here.
would have said if you didn't, so that's fine by me.
She's having some dinner with the good Abyssal sister now, Lachesis, and turns out Lachesis doesn't need to eat apparently, which is weird.
That seems like the worst punishment of all.
It does, yeah,
She like because it doesn't. I think she like there's she just says like flat out says like I don't eat,
yeah.
and that just seems horrible. Like think of all the things you're missing out on. That's why she's so cranky. She
I
can't have
know.
a delicious bowl of ramen. I think they were doing today.
Yeah, if I didn't know the loving embrace of pizza, my life would be worse for it, Toby. um, Kyoka and Lachesis have a conversation about the monster that appeared when the door of darkness opened. First, Lachesis is kind of like, I don't know much about it. But then she ends up saying that she thinks that it was the Abyssalus King. I don't know what the Abyssalus King is, but it sounds scary.
What's a if it? I think it said it was the King of Hades. The Hades. I hate when
King
I
of
fucking
Hades?
do that. The King of Hades, which means it's right from hell. It's right from hell.
I went back to look here. I was double checking. My translation, at least, we might have downloaded different translations. Is using the word Abyssalus King, but maybe Hades King is a uh more Englishified version.
Yeah. So uh in mine, so I have it now. She says, I don't know much about the monster that came through. And she says, but I'm sure it must have been the king of, yeah, like it just says the king of Hades for me.
Oh,
So
interesting.
basically,
Okay.
yeah, so it's definitely like the devil or whatever we're going to call Hades, guardian of the underworld.
This is gonna be so sick when this like fun series ends with just fighting the literal devil. It's gonna be fucking rad.
That'd be that'd hell of a way to do it.
Yeah. Next, we get a little scene with Atropos. She's of course has been a little upset about her father question mark having died. She's looking at his golden cube, and then suddenly behind her he appears. Garion appears behind her and is kind of like saying like, "You need to go avenge me. What are you doing? Hurry! Use your power to avenge me." But turns out he's just Amalgam who can create illusions. Here, he turns into this Amalgam that is like a squid. I guess he can spray ink. He's got an ink pouch.
His name at the end was like McCracken or Ma Kraken or something like that. So
Okay,
he's
so
definitely
he's a kraken
octopus,
then.
squid, octopus,
Okay,
kraken of nature.
yeah, he was pretty cool looking. I really liked him.
Yeah, his outfit was sick.
Yeah, I think he's one of the coolest looking Malgams. Like some of the Malgams are fun because they're so crazy looking, like ridiculous. And he was more on the side of like creepy, and I really liked the whole vibe.
He looks like an actual threat. Like of
Yeah,
all of them, he actually looks like an aggressive, scary threat.
for sure. Yeah. Then Toby, we head over to the classroom again. We're back at school. The kids are in the drama club. Seina's not here because, well, she got put on ice, so she's not here at the beginning of drama class. So, who steps up to play Juliet but Kudo?
The true Juliet.
um, they start practicing, and everyone is super impressed at how good Kudo is. She's memorized all the lines. She's doing great. They're all very taken aback by this. But then Seina shows up. And she really, if looks could kill, she would have murdered Kudo at this point. She says that Kudo is doing great but stole the role from her, and Hodoro, bless his little heart, tries to defend her. He says that he asked her for help because he's bad at memorizing his lines, and Seina storms off and calls them all great liars.
I think it's hilarious to use a reference that almost nobody will get. I think Kudo basically Tanya Hardinged Seiya. She
it
wanted to
it
rule
felt that way.
Juliet.
I mean, like, it totally like a bad girl shows up and is like, "Hey, you want me to kill this girl for you?" And Kudo's like, "No." Well, and then she got froze. And then she's like recovering from this horrible traumatic freezing that she went through. And then Kudo the very next day is like, "I'll take her place." When you just lay the facts out here, it's pretty damning for Kudo, I think.
Yeah, her secret desires was really the downfall all along.
Indeed. Hodoro chases after Sena. They head up to the roof, and again, I really liked Hodoro in this because he, has kind of been a hapless dude in the first episode of this arc, where he was sort of oblivious to the fact that Kudo was jealous, and he was kind of put off by Sena, but not enough to really like tell her about it or anything like that. So this one, he steps up a little bit. He tells her that he's like really happy to see her after all these years, but hearing her talk to Kudo like that hurts him. So then he tells her a little bit about his gotcha. He wants to work with his friends, and now he wants to help with this Romeo and Juliet play, and he wants her to join them and work together. So he kind of like he sort of like weirdly sets some boundaries between him and Sena, and then also tells her she needs to quit it, needs to cut it out with the Kudo stuff.
He basically friend zoned her, and that's a trope that's very rare.
He did. He 100% friend zoned her here. Uh, he said join my friend group is basically what happened. And then Sena says Hodoro hasn't really changed. He's the same hero he was when they were young. She tells him that he probably doesn't remember, but he saved her before. When they were kids, she was having family issues. And Hodoro, again, even then, told her about his dreams, cheered her up, and she kept those words with her even after she moved away. So that's why she was so jealous, and that's why she was so excited to see Hodoro once again because of his inspiring words when they were mere youths.
There's something that just seems fitting to me of like him, Mr. Happy Go Lucky, I'll just make things okay with my words, being like her shitty parent savior. Like that was the perfect backstory to give to her of why she has issues letting him go, question mark, quote
Yeah,
unquote. But like he would be the perfect person to do it. Like with obviously it's a character and made a certain way, but like he's literally the perfect person that you would want to go to if like, oh, my family life sucks, I need to stay away from my parents, and him being like, no, that's cool. Like we'll be friends. We'll do whatever you want. Like I'm here.
yeah. Yeah, he's like I said, he's very charismatic. He tells you something about your life and you're gonna believe it. So yeah, that was cute. I really liked that as the backstory. It wasn't just like I thought you were hot and I tried to take you away from Kudo. It was like, she had a tie to him. It made sense why she was really, really excited to see him again. However, as they're up here on the roof, there is a big explosion. Uh, the Malga we saw earlier has showed up at the school. Spanner also shows up and he henshins. He's ready to fight, and he gets engulfed in ink. And inside the, I guess, ink world, he sees Kyoka. He figures out pretty quickly that it's an illusion, but he still can't really bring himself to hit her because, you know, looks like his mom. So he kind of gets his butt kicked here, and he's forced to dehenshin. Hodoro and Kudo show up, and they also try to fight. But well, first of all, Seina's shocked that they transform. She gets to see that. And she's like, what is going on here? But they
I'm
henshin.
surprised. I'm surprised. Uh, it doesn't matter. Never mind.
Go ahead.
Because I
What
was
are you
gonna no,
surprised?
no, because I was gonna say like it shocked me that they henshin in front of her, that they were like didn't care, and she's like, oh wow, they're common riders, like that kind of vibe. And then I completely forgot about the part where she forgets that they're common
Yeah, we get a little mind wipey scene again. Yeah. Just for old time's sake, we get to wipe some minds. Hodoro and Kudo also get illusioned. They see, I believe, illusions of each other is what they see. And they are very confused as to who's who. And they don't really know what to hit. However, Kudo tells Hodoro to trust her and to attack her. Hodoro does attack her. This is where things get a little hazy for me, Toby. He does attack her, but he actually seems to really hit her. She kind of falls down. In a very cool scene, like the lights on her chest go out, like her like lit up parts of her costume dim and go out.
I actually thought that was the best part because I don't think there's ever been a time we've ever seen those as like a powered object
No,
that like it could turn off. So like she basically just looked like a robot that turned off, and I was like actually like you said, really a cool visual effect to show like, hey, maybe she's kind of dead, but she didn't dehension. Like, is she just turned off? Like collapsed in her armor? Like what the hell happened here?
yeah, I think the fact that she didn't dehension there like should have been telling, but it was definitely like, oh wow, okay, is this real? What's going on? Everyone is shocked. The Malgam is kind of gloating at this point. Atropos said that Kudo's end was anticlimactic, but she seems happy about it. And just then, Kudo shows back up again. She gives a big attack to the Malgam, and everybody is shocked. And Kudo explains, Toby, that she used a solar eclipse. Uh, she used her moon card and her sun card, and it let her create this solar eclipse to kind of fake her own death. Question mark.
Because she's powered by the moon. Don't forget,
Yeah.
like, because she's a moon knight, and
No,
this is
she
all
yeah.
inspired. Just remember, inspired by Romeo and Juliet. She basically drank the poison and was inspired to come back to life or something along those lines.
Very true. Yeah. It's one of those things you best not to look at too closely with Gotchard. That happens sometimes in Gotchard. I'm just like, we're just gonna hand wave that along, just move along. It's fine. It's better if we don't try to focus on how it actually works. Um, but in theory, it's fun and cute. The parallels to Romeo and Juliet were actually pretty good. At one point, Kudo, when she's reading her lines when they're practicing, let me see if I can go find that real quick. So I want to get the line correct. But they
Line. What's
are
my line?
line. Uh, Here we go. She says, uh, let's see where she's holding the thing. Here we go. If I were to drink this vial, my soul shall be ice. So we had the first Balgam freezing the ice, and my face a mask of the dead, which is the illusion thing. So it's kind of neat that they pulled the ice thing and the illusion thing kind of directly from the Romeo and Juliet script. So that's kind of neat.
I thought of it now while we were pontificating the abilities of the sun and the moon and her armor. Do you think this episode came out because of the eclipse that just happened?
I was gonna ask you the same question. Yeah, I don't know. Like if it did, it's well timed here. But I don't know. Did the eclipse like get near Japan at all? Like the totality?
I don't think so.
I don't think
But
so
I mean,
either.
it's still like it's
A thing that's happening
one
in
of
the
those
world.
weird things. Like it's still technically, I would call it a world event, even though it's not like all over the world,
I
because
think
like
so.
those don't happen all the time. Because like it happens every 20 some years. So I feel like it's a big enough event where people would know, even if you weren't here.
So I looked at the map. The eclipse is just full on not visible from Japan at all. It is actually like smack dab in the middle of the area where you can't see it at all.
Okay,
Um, so, but yeah, I mean, like it could be like it was happening, right? It was definitely more of a United States centric thing, a Mexico thing. It was, I guess, it was just the North America region was the most focused on, but still, yeah, like you said, a world event, so it could be very intentional that it was referenced here. I in watching it, I thought there was like, oh, that's funny, like they timed it with that, and hadn't even really considered that Japan wouldn't be able to see it until now talking to you. But Kudo with her big attack, she ends up destroying the ink tank on the Kraken. He at first doesn't really realize it's gone, then he does. Then Hodoro becomes Platinum Gotchard, and he and Kudo finish off the Malgam with kind of a double rider kick. Sena is super impressed here. She she thinks that they're both awesome. They work together so well. She talks about their trust in each other, and
She now accepts their love.
she does basically is what happens here. Um, and then Kudo again, the love fest exchanges. Kudo also has nice things to say about Sana, and she says that and Kudo does admit she was jealous, and that's why she decided to work as hard as she could. Then everybody's happy, and then Toby Minato shows up and erases Sana's memories.
I was thinking about why he was there, and because we haven't done it for a while, at least to the best that I could remember it, I didn't expect the brainwipe to come. Because, like I said, like I just sounded it out with you, where at that part earlier when she was like, "Wow, you guys are Kamen Riders," I completely accepted that as, oh, she's part of the group now. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
And then like he just strolled up and showed her the
wipe the
ring, and
brain.
I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're still wiping memories. Then we come back to school and we get to see a little bit of the play. So we get to see some of the costumes and a little bit of the performance. And uh, Sana is watching in this. So Kudo is actually playing Juliet. Sana's watching. And we flash back to the rehearsals where Sana is saying that she wants Kudo to play Juliet, and like clearly like she doesn't super know why she thinks that that should be happening. But you know, she's still they're friends and they're happy and they shake hands and they save the drama club.
Do you think that the clips they showed us of this play will be the same clips that are in the full length that they're releasing, or did they shoot the full length in a different manner where it's going to not be the same?
I don't know. I'm curious to find that out, but I don't know if I'm curious enough to sit through a full play. A full Romeo and Juliet play. Uh this was well enough done and the costumes were, you know, they looked like a high school production, but they were like nice enough that like my gut tells me that this is just what the full release will look like, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
So we're going to watch it. I'm telling everybody right now. Patreon.com/the Comment Writers exclusive.
We're gonna
If
watch it.
if the play, if the remake of the play is 20 minutes or less, Josh and I are going to watch it.
I'm so glad you put a time limit on it because I was my next question to you was like, what if this play is like 2 hours? Like, what if they do the full on every aspect of Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah,
Like,
like I'm not watching an hour of Romeo and Juliet. I blocked it out from my childhood. I blocked it out from high school. I'm not watching the whole thing. But if they make it like a 20-minute like ha 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 episode, I'm gonna make Josh watch
they I'll watch it if it's the 20-minute episode for sure. Uh, but yeah, I don't want to. I don't know if I want to subject myself to anything longer than that. I think if it's like 2 hours, like if it's super long, we just like rewatch Empire Records together again instead.
it. That'd make me so
let's
much happier.
let's just pick a good movie. We'll just watch that with our time. So the performance ends. We find out that they added 15 new members to the drama club, so it is saved. And then we cut back over one last time to the academy classroom. Spanner is you know, doing his normal brooding thing. He's working on his little sword, and Lachesis walks in, and he is very dismissive of her. He tells her to get out, that he doesn't accept her, he doesn't want her around, and then she shows she has her own version of his sword, and he is shocked. He's appalled. He doesn't know what happened. And then Kyoko walks in afterwards and says that she made a copy of his sword for Lachesis.
He's getting
Uh,
mad that mom has a new kid.
exactly. 100%. He thinks it's crazy that they can't trust her. But then they say like, "Hey, we need all the help we can get at this point," basically. So I like the idea that like maybe she's gonna hench in here as well, and I'm excited to see what she looks like.
Yeah,
And then last
I
thing,
think if nothing else, the two big sisters need to have a battle at some point,
for sure.
just to like for friendship, for which side are we going to work on, for something along those lines. But those two have to fight. And I feel like whatever side they end up on will be the opposite of the littlest sister by the end of it, and then
Agreed.
they'll both be ready.
I agree. And then the last thing to tease us for next time, we see the door of darkness once again, the Aurora Boreas, and there is something emerging. Something comes out.
Hades.
Maybe the king of Hades. But we shall see. I like that Gotchard is a show that can go from a school production of Romeo and Juliet directly into the King of Hell. The tonal shift here is dramatic. Very fun. Toby, what did you think about this episode?
Other than the beginning of the hand wavy, oh, you're okay, I'm okay. Hey, you're fine now. Don't worry about it. That part was silly. The rest of it was pretty good. I liked the Hodoro's actual backstory with Seiya, or however you say her name. Something about making him like I said earlier, your go to friend when your life is shitty as a kid just seems perfect for him, and he's becoming like a more personable, better Keiwa, and Keiwa was the ultimate good guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think he embodies a lot of the spirit of Keiwa, but he's way more likable in doing it. I agree. I also just seeing some clips of the full Romeo and Juliet performance here, and it seems like it's a lot played for laughs. Like I just saw a clip of Hodoro going in for a kiss and Kudo like kneeing him in the gut and slapping him because
We're
she didn't
watching
want to kiss
this.
him.
Booked, sold.
So yeah, I think we might be in on it then. It's such a weird play to try to play for laughs though. you know, a, a play that ends in like a double suicide is a very weird thing to like have jokes in. But okay. Yeah, let's do it. Let's see how it goes. All right, folks. Well, that is going to wrap up our review of Gotchard episode 31. Of course, please send us those emails, cast@commentwritersucks.com, and check out that Patreon, patreon.com/the comment writers. Yeah, we'd love to have you ride along with us on all of our fun bonus content that we put out. And yeah, get joined up so you can check out our watching of Giamato Awakening, the cinema movie for geeks. Toby, where can the people find you on the internet when we aren't comment writing?
On Twitter, it's at Life of Tobes, and on YouTube, it's Tobes Plays.
Right on. And on Twitter, I am at Pretty Dece Josh, and YouTube is Pretty Dece, and Blue Sky is Meek.lol. So we will be back next week for episode 32, starting another arc. We'll see what's going on in the world of Gotchard. I do know a little secret about a character who shows up very soon. So I'm excited about that.
Boo.
And until then, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody. Peace.